You're already an expert in your field, but you don't want to sacrifice your evenings and weekends to become an expert in escape room design too. So what would it actually look like to work with a design team? We help professors create learning experiences where students practice real skills in an environment that is relevant, academically credible, and engaging. Here's a behind-the-scenes look of what the process is actually like to work with a design team on an experiential learning escape room. You bring your content expertise, your knowledge of your students, the course or program that the escape room relates to, and also any constraints that are necessary to keep in mind to actually get the project done. I'm confident that you already have a lot of the pieces necessary to create an experiential escape room, and the pieces you don't have, either the design team will bring, or they'll help you figure out how to get. So the design team, whether you work with us here at Pumpkinberry or somebody else, brings a combination of experiential learning, design expertise, student engagement strategies, and escape room design experience. It's things like how to structure an experience so students are practicing real competencies in order to move forward, rather than finding codes or unlocking doors and experiencing content disconnected from those activities. It often includes custom illustration, situation design that contextualizes the learning, and storytelling to engage the learner's imagination and put them into the roles that you want them to take throughout the experience. And these things aren't just bolted on. They're designed specifically around the core learning purpose in order to enable the learning goals themselves. The design team also does its own research and content learning so that we can be a useful design partner for you. And of course, there's the project management and the technical build and all the other pieces that go into taking the idea and translating it into a playable experience. So you don't have to become an escape room design expert in order to create an experience that's engaging, relevant, and memorable. That's the whole point of the partnership. You bring the content expertise, and the design team brings expertise in the particular format, this experiential learning escape room thing, that you're trying to create here. Now, when people think of escape rooms, puzzle is often the first thing that comes to mind. But this actually isn't where we start. And pausing for just a second here, if you've got an idea you've been musing on, there's an escape room idea check in the description that'll help you check if your idea is rigorous, relevant, and worth course time before you pitch it or build it. And when you do start, the place to start is actually with purpose, not with puzzle. And this is an important distinction, especially with educational escape rooms. This is the whole deal. This is the learning competencies and actual skills that you want students to develop experientially through learning by doing in this escape room. And it can take significant time to narrow this down. When we design, we actually spend a surprising amount of time getting super specific about the learning competencies, whether that's hands-on practice with content knowledge or future skills or a combination of the two. Having a super specific set of competencies that you want students to practice also helps with making the escape room measurable, because you design for that observability relative to the learning purpose from the very beginning, rather than having to tack it on at the end. After purpose, there's this middle part of the design process that's where it's perhaps easiest to get overwhelmed, and where having a dedicated design team can be the most valuable. It's about taking the purpose and translating it into the specific puzzles, situations, characters, the illustrations, the interactive elements, the metrics that you're going to collect, and doing all of that in sort of iterative cycles. And this messy middle is where it's especially useful to have a design partner as your guide, your creative partner, a sounding board, and the doer of many of these pieces, perhaps most of these pieces. Once we've got it all planned out, it's time to build. And the design team will take everything we've agreed upon and implement it into the chosen platform, whatever that may be, and then bring it back to you for testing, for iteration, for tweaks, and eventually for an official pilot run with real students. What you end up with is a playable escape room and a robust facilitation guide with things like how to onboard students and get buy-in, the learning purposes for each of the puzzles, debrief recommendations, and assessment strategies, including any formative or summative assessments that we've designed in. And if you're looking to update pieces of the content later on, say you want students to work with the latest data set and you want to update that over time, there will also be instructions for those specific updates. So you get this experience that students will remember, that's relevant, and that you can build on over time if you choose. And you don't have to become an escape room design expert to get there. For now, if you've got an idea that you want to validate, grab the escape room idea check in the description. It'll help you check if your idea is rigorous, relevant, and worth class time before you go to the trouble of building it or pitching it.